we'll hold off on this. I'll bring this up in 6. 6 was the ideologies. And if you remember with ideologies, I had given you the second personality quiz. And for ideologies, when you have a look at this one is probably going to be one of the bigger chapters on this exam. I think it almost has got to be. And of course, we got the starting line, finish line up there. Ideology is a straight definition. Proletariat and bourgeoisie are pretty much going to be straight definitions. For this, liberal, conservative, populist, and libertarian, make sure you've got the relationship between bedroom and wallet for those 4 categories. And basically, when I'm talking about this, when I say regulating, or when I talk about the bedroom and the wallet, what are we talking about?
Morals and economics.
Okay, the bedroom is going to be moral issues. The economics are going to be wallet issues. If the government has get a plus for moral issues, what are we talking about? What is the government doing? Okay, that would be a conservative ideal, but what are we talking about? What does it mean if the government gets plus? What's that? Yeah, basically we're talking about the government's role in terms of regulating both morals and economic issues. And if you believe that the government should regulate morals and stay out of the wallet, then you would be considered probably a conservative. Vice versa, if you believe the government should regulate the wallet but stay out of the morals, then indeed you would be more of a liberal. Populists would regulate both, and then libertarians would regulate neither as much as possible. This chapter is going to be big for articles. And when you go through this and you look, all right, we have the tunnel article. That one's pretty straightforward, but nonetheless, take a good look at the tunnel article. We had Jim Crow on there. Jim Crow on there. That one, understand what Jim Crow was, but I don't necessarily know that you're going to need to know a law. I mean, because basically this was just a list of laws. We had TT. What do you remember about TT? Yeah, she was the infested prostitute. What was the argument there?
That she should be forced to get treatment and take her off the streets because she was infecting her clients, her innocent clients with AIDS.
Okay, she was an HIV-infected prostitute who continued to turn tricks. And if you remember with this, the Amarillo, Texas was basically saying, we're going to force you to get treatment for this even if you don't want it because obviously you're in our jail facilities. All right, what did this represent? Liberal, conservative, libertarian, or populist? Very populist. The government making decisions for people that couldn't make decisions for themselves. What was an extreme populist? A dictator. And who was it in class that was most likely to be the dictator? Who was it?
I want to say it was Lashley, but I knew it wasn't.
Lashley was most likely to be a Nazi.
Yeah.
I can't remember who the dictator was, so I guess I won't ask a question about that. What was an extreme conservative?
That was Lashley.
That was a Nazi. An extreme conservative could be because of the regulation versus the wallet issues. What about an extreme libertarian? Anarchist, believing in the absence of government, which falls under here. And then what was an extreme liberal? So you start getting into communism. Have a good look at the TT article. Another populist one, the baby and the Wolf Hawk. What do you remember about Wolf Hawk?
Oh, he was the dad who raped somebody 20 years before.
Yeah, he was convicted about 20 years previously. And was it specifically a rape? I think it was.
It was sodomy and rape.
Yeah, it was. It was rape and sodomy about 20 years ago. Based on the article, best we can tell, his record had been clean for those 20 years. And then he had a son with a woman who was, I think, about 20 years or so younger than him. What happened? Okay, she was a drug-addicted mom. All right, well, then it brings up another article, but we're not going to go there yet. Okay, what was the story? What was the controversy with poor Wolf Hawk?
He's not allowed to see his kid.
He got no visitation rights, no parental rights, nothing.
Got no custody and no visitation because he was a convicted sex offender from 20 years before in a rape and sodomy case. The state basically took the child away, and again, the argument was the state is going to look out for people that cannot look out for themselves. So whether you're talking about that little kid, whether you're talking about TT the prostitute, or whether, for that matter, you're talking about the cancer patient, these are all examples of the state doing this. So these articles kind of overlap, even from different chapters. The Hugs article, what was the story with the Hugs?
New Jersey.
New Jersey. What was going on with this New Jersey Hugs article?
5-second rule, I believe. 3 seconds.
Some had 3-second rules.
Because the student actually exaggerated. They kept on hugging all all day.
Blocking the hallways.
Yeah.
Okay, some people shake hands, some people slap hands, some people kiss cheeks, some people cheeks, some people give hugs. And this article is basically saying that the new generation, if you will, of high school kids, what they number one thing that they do is actually hug. What's the problem for this as a school administrator? Ariel, what's the problem for this if you walking around seeing all these kids hugging all the time?
Well, I mean, it takes up time. People will be late to class.
Okay, it takes up time, disruptive to the school environment, disruptive to the school day. Go ahead.
If you don't have anybody to hug, then you're going to get left out.
If you don't have anybody to hug, let's say that you went up to Emily, for example, and wanted to try and hug Emily just as a nice she doesn't hug men. So you could have your self-esteem crushed. I vaguely remember.
That was a great jab.
Both could be self-esteem issues. Like, if I'm trying to hug someone and they don't want it, that might hurt me. And then if everybody else is hugging somebody else and you're not being hugged, then it could be a
Absolutely, absolutely. So it goes both ways. What was the other thing, though? What was the reason? Because ultimately it wasn't just the 3-second hugs. Schools in New Jersey were doing what? Suspending
Yeah.
kids. Were they, well, in reference to hugs, though, what were the schools doing?
Not allowing them.
They were banning hugs entirely because they were disruptive, because of self-esteem issues. But what was the third thing, the real money changer? Sexual harassment possibilities. And again, this goes to populism, because when you think about it, if you're 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, maybe you can't make better decisions for yourself than the state can. They're coming in and saying, instead of trying to put together a hug policy, we're going to ban all hugs so we don't have to worry about Andrew's self-esteem. We don't have to worry about Ariel's school day being disrupted. You know, homeschool hugs are just as bad as the rest of them. And indeed, when you think about it, we don't have to worry about these high sexual harassment damage suits that the schools would be paying because they're supervising these kids hugging in maybe some unwanted ways. This was, again, a real good populism article. Nationalism.